Hello there. This is Randa McCauley from North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, and today we are going to review how to submit a reserve request via RCRS, which is our rental compliance reporting system. There are two main types of reserve accounts, one being the operating reserves, which there is a minimum balance that needs to be held in that account, and that balance can be found in the loan documents. It's usually used if there's an operating deficit at a property due to an economic hardship, and the operating reserve account must be funded prior to the loan closing at the beginning of a property. The second type of reserve account is the replacement reserves, which require a minimum balance of 24 months worth of deposits. That account can be used for payment of replacement of capital items, and the property pays into the replacement reserve account on a monthly basis, and the amount that the property pays is listed in the loan documents. Not all properties need to seek agency approval on withdrawals from the reserve accounts, but those properties that do need to seek approval have certain funding types. It would either be a TCAP loan, exchange funds, RPP funds, PLP funds, or SHDP loans. For clarification, always refer to the property-specific loan documents to clarify if agency approval is needed. First, we're going to talk about some do's and don'ts with the replacement reserve account. Some of the most common eligible items would include things like appliance replacement, bathtub or shower replacements, entire roof replacements, replacing the gutter and downspout system on an entire building, HVAC replacements, repaving, resurfacing, and seal coating parking lots or sidewalks, water heater replacements, flooring replacements, range queen or fire extinguisher replacements. Things like doors, sinks, faucets, toilets, and windows are only eligible if you are replacing 10 to 15% of the entire property. They are not eligible if you're just doing one unit or one door, one sink, one window. It has to be 10 to 15% of the entire property. And there are some extensive plumbing or sanitary system repairs that are eligible, but those are on a case-by-case basis. And painting of an exterior of the building is eligible if you're repainting the entire exterior. There are some items that are not eligible for replacement reserve withdrawals, and these are our most common that we see. Landscaping, that includes tree removal, mulch, flowers. Any landscaping is not eligible. Pest control, bed bugs, termite treatments, your quarterly pest inspections, those are all not eligible items. Window blinds and routine maintenance items or maintenance supplies are also not eligible. Painting interior apartments or interior of the building is not eligible. Carpet cleaning and flooring repairs are not eligible. Drywall repairs are not eligible, and water extractions are not eligible items. So now we're going to move on to the step-by-step instructions of actually entering the reserve request into RCRS. And this process begins after you have logged into the system. So step 1, from the home screen, you will select the property you wish to enter a reserve request for by clicking the property list. Depending on your user level in RCRS, these options along the top are going to look a little bit different. But the property list should be there as long as you have properties that have been assigned to your user account. Once you click the property list, all of the properties that you have access to will be listed. If you cannot find or do not see on that first page the property that you are looking for, if you move over to the search bar, you can begin typing in the property and it will show up. Or there should be a page number at the bottom that you can click if you have multiple properties. So once you find the property that you would like to work with, you're going to click the APN number or the agency property number. It will bring up another menu where it'll show home, property list, and property menu along the top. If you click property menu and then go all the way down to reserve requests and click reserve requests, that will bring you to the reserve request page, which is where you're going to begin entering the information for a specific request. So in order to do that, you're going to click the Add Reserve Request button in the upper right-hand corner. Also on this page, you will see a historical list of all previously submitted requests. If you see a submission date next to the request, that data and that request was entered by management into RCRS. So those would be requests that have happened in the last 2 years. Once you open those requests, you'll be able to see the attachments that were included and any details included in that request. If there is not a submission date next to the reserve request, that means it was historical data that the agency entered when we set up the reserves in RCRS, and all of those were done manually in-house, and you will not be able to see attachments or details. It will just be the submitted amount and the approved amount. So once you're ready, hit that Add Reserve Request button, and that is going to bring you to the main reserve request screen, in which you will start by entering the requested amount, and that will be the total of all of the invoices included. And then you will select the reserve type. Again, there's only 2 options, replacement or operating. Once you have submitted the amount and the reserve type, you'll have to enter some comments. And here you're going to enter what is the request for. You can get detailed and put every item, or it could be a summary of a time frame that the request is. This is completely up to you what is here, but that will be data that you can see in the future if you ever need to check back. Once you put in the amount, the type, and a comment, the last button you're going to hit Save at the bottom of the screen, and that will allow you to upload the documents. You cannot upload documents until you hit the Save button. Once you get to a point where you can upload documents, you will click the Upload button, and that will bring you a screen in which you can select the file from your computer and then you will hit OK. You will do this for all three attachment types: the bank statement, the invoice, and the trial balance. Remember, these items have to be separated out, so the bank statement will be uploaded under bank statement, trial balance under trial balance, and all of the invoices and additional documentation will be uploaded as one document under the invoices. If you do not separate it out and you attach the same attachment to all three and it includes all of the data, the request will be sent back to management in order to break that out. So once all of the documents have been attached, you will hit the OK button at the bottom. You'll know that everything is attached because these view buttons will turn bright green, in which you can click on them to ensure that the documents were uploaded correctly and that the correct document was uploaded under the correct line item. So once you hit the OK button, that does not submit the request. There is still one last final submit button in the top right-hand corner. You can also edit the reserve request if you realize that you had made a mistake. So once you've hit submitted, you will see a confirmation screen that asks if you're sure you're ready to submit it. And if you are sure and you have reviewed everything, you're going to hit the blue OK button. And that is where you will confirm, and it will be sent to the agency for review. Once you've hit that OK button, you'll be taken back to the reserve request detail, and you'll just click OK one last time to get taken back to the reserve request list, where you can see all of the historical data. Your most recent submission will be the last on the list, and it should say submitted under that request. So once it's been submitted, you will not be able to make any additional edits. If you realized that you have made a mistake or you have forgotten something and you need to edit that request, you're going to need to send an email to myself at rjmccauley@nchfa.com, and I can send the request back to you for edits. To view a request after it's been submitted, you'll see a magnifying glass to the left of the submission. And once you click on that, it'll open up the request and you can see all of the details. So now we're going to talk about the operating reserves and some reminders. First, for submitting operating reserves, the property must be running at a deficit in order to be eligible to withdraw money from operating reserves. Replacement reserve items are not eligible. So any of those items that were on the eligible list, you cannot take items that are eligible for replacement reserves out of operating. In order to find a true deficit, mortgage payments, monthly reserve payments, management fees, all of that will be taken out of the calculation to determine the deficit. Some of the common requests for operating reserves include annual taxes, insurance deductibles, and unforeseen expenses. So when submitting operating reserves, steps 1 through 8 are exactly the same as the replacement reserves. Steps 9 and 10, which is where you will attach documents, it's the same process. However, the documents that you will attach will be a little bit different. You'll attach the bank statement, and under invoices, instead of invoices, you will attach the backup as to why you need an operating reserve withdrawal. You'll include the current accounts receivables and payables, your current vacancy, cash flow, and the owner's reason for the request, along with a plan to get the property back into a positive cash flow. And then you will also include the trial balance. And then steps 11 through 13 are exactly the same as a replacement reserve. Again, the process is the same for replacement or operating. The only difference are the documents that you will attach. So we've got some helpful hints to ensure that the process runs smoothly. Some things to remember: if you are submitting for a prior approval, you must include 2 to 3 comparable bids. If you're submitting for a reimbursement, you must include the actual invoice and not a quote. Any invoices over 12 months will not be accepted. You want to include the most recent trial balance and bank statements for the reserve accounts. If you are submitting in October, we have to have at least September bank statements if you don't have October statements yet. We cannot take statements from July. It does take up to 30 days for NCHFA staff to review and approve all reserve requests. Replacement items, not repairs. Repairs are not eligible for replacement reserves. It must be replacement items. The agency prefers for one submission per quarter or semi-annually instead of multiple small submissions. If you are submitting a large request, please make sure to have a cover sheet listing all of the items included. This will ensure that the agency and that management has not missed something in calculations. Got a couple extra helpful hints. To check the status of a reserve request, you're going to follow steps 1 through 3 from the home screen, and that will take you to the reserve request list for a particular property. And there, you can check the status. Under the status column, you'll see 4 different possibilities. Pending means that management has not yet submitted the request. It's still waiting for something, and that final submit button has not been clicked. Submitted means that it is pending NCHFA review. Accepted means that the first reviewer at NCHFA has reviewed it. And approved means that final approval has been granted. If the approved amount has been adjusted, you will need to click that magnifying glass to open the request, and there you'll be able to view any comments made from the reviewer regarding an adjustment that was made. Once a reserve request has been approved, management will not get an approval email. You will have to sign in and check for approval. However, if there were corrections or questions that were needed, the admin users and anyone tagged will get an RCRS notification, and that is that little red circle up in the left-hand corner. Again, if you are an admin or the person tagged, you will get that notification, but no approval email or letter is sent. If a request is denied, the status will say approved, but the approved amount will be 0. And again, you will be able to open that request by clicking the magnifying glass, and you'll see the reviewer's comments as to why an adjustment has been made. Hopefully, this step-by-step presentation will be able to answer most questions and walk you through how-tos for reserve requests and entering them into RCRS. But if you have additional questions about the reserve request process, you can email myself at rjmccauley@nchfa.com. And for supportive housing projects, you can contact Keisha Purvis at kppurvis@nchfa.com. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed this video.